Thanks everybody for joining us today. So happy to have this session. This session actually was a bit last minute, and I literally only met David like a few days ago. So whatever you're going to be seeing now and hearing now will be very pure, very unscripted. I do have a number of questions, and I just want to just sort of tell everybody, and just to reiterate what Florence said just now, there are two segments to this chat. I'm going to try to attempt to do a bit of the human side of what David does in terms of day in the life of, and of course demystifying what he does, what makes a good application, and so on and so forth. And then after that, about an hour's time or so, I'm going to transition over and pass it back to Flo, who will then introduce some of our other colleagues who will talk about the programmatic structure of the TFIP program. So if you do want to ask questions to David and myself, just note that we'll probably want to prioritize as I said, that humanistic type of questions about, what's it like to work in DBS and so on and so forth. And then just keep all your other questions regarding the program for the later part. Okay, so without further ado, again, David, thanks so much for doing this at kind of like the last minute. Pleasure to have you. I understand that you have the difficult task of representing not only cloud but also software engineering. So I'm going to hit you with some questions, and I hope you'll be able to answer some of these questions for the benefit of the people that join us. Okay, so this will not be a career talk if I didn't ask my guests the same first question, and basically that first question is about your own personal journey, right? When you started out, the only thing I know about you, David, because you're a man of mystery, I can't find you on LinkedIn. The only thing I know about you is that you are a physics graduate. Okay, so that's the only thing that you said. You study physics, right? But apart from that, I don't know very much else. So I would be very curious, and I think people in the audience would be very curious to find out, what's your background and how on earth did you end up in what you do, like at DBS? Was it like a lifelong dream, or did life give you some twists and turns, and then you ended up here? Over to you.
Okay. Thanks for having me in this conversation. Can you hear me properly?
Perfect.
Okay, cool. Okay, yes. A little bit of introduction of myself. I'm David. Well, my full name is David Rebollo. In Spain we have two surnames, dad's surname and mom's surname. But I'm working here in DBS since 4 years ago. Okay, I started my career in IT. Meanwhile, I was studying physics, as you mentioned. The reason why I'm in IT and I'm in physics, first of all, because I'm from Spain. Then this is a country that science is not, let's say, the most important thing. It's a touristic country. It's one of the most visited countries in the world. Means that if you want to work in the science industry, there is very few slots on available. Okay. Then, well, basically, long story short, it's like I studied physics. I got a scholarship to keep my studies in Denmark under the European Union. And then in Denmark, the philosophy was not about studying, was more about practicing. Then studying physics, the practicing was creating simulations. I studied physics, materials, and mechanics. Means that most of my time I was creating simulations in computers or so on. And I had full access to these computers. Then by the time I started to realize that I was good on these kind of things, on setting up cluster, writing my own code, defining, and also was giving support to some of my folks in the studies. Then, once I finished, I realized that I was good at IT. It was a thing that IT in Spain and so in all Europe is a very good industry to start working on. Then also culturally, there is no requirement on IT to study IT in Europe. Means that as soon as you can demonstrate that you have attitude, that is important thing, and basic knowledge, then I think it's that's the minimum requirement that they want. And then I started in 2003 as a system administrator. Then by the time I started to look at, I'm a very curious person. Then I started to look at new things, how to improve my work, is when I found the public cloud, the early version of AWS. And from there until here. In fact, for example, just to explain why I'm in DBS, I've been working in other banks in Europe and also in Middle East. But I didn't apply to work in DBS. I was in Barcelona working in the office, and suddenly I received a call from from Singapore. I thought it wasn't a scam because I didn't knew anyone from Singapore. Then I was hanging that call several days in a row. Then one of my friends told me, "Hey, David, maybe it's a real person because every day he's calling you at the same hour." Then yeah, I took the call and was DBS, and yeah, we started having a conversation, and they were looking for someone with experience in public cloud, but also with finance background to lead the team. And yeah, here am I after 4 years.
No regrets. I'm still very happy, as I can see from your face. I was smiling. That's great. Okay, so David, the next question is, okay, so wait, before I go, I just want to say I'm approaching all my questions from a very untechnical place because I studied science, but the social kind of social sciences. So no idea what it is that you do. So for the benefit of the people, I'm just going to ask you just very broad questions. Like, for example, okay, so in your work at DBS, can you just give us an overview of your remit, like in cloud, and also if you can tell us a bit more about the software engineering part as well, what the teams or the business units are responsible for? That would be great.
Okay, yes. Okay, my team is the engineering team for public cloud. I mean, what we do in the public cloud, the engineering team is basically we build a framework that we have called Evolve. And that framework requires a series of knowledge for us. No, then our mean, let's say, the average profile of engineer is someone who has scripting skills, mainly Python, a person who understands a bit AWS. But I think the biggest requirement that we have is like people that they are there because they like challenges. The public cloud, it's a new thing, let's say that, and for finance institution, it's even newer. Then suddenly, frequently we are facing problems, are facing things to solve that we haven't faced before. Then if you are this kind of person that likes to challenge yourself or wants to learn, wants to work in team in a very good team, then that's the right place to be there, because it's where you are challenging yourself professionally. You feel very proud, and I would say that majority of the team, they make their work part of his personal life. It means that they make it their own thing. It's not about 5 to 6 and then 9 to 6 and then see you later. They investigate. Sometimes I receive chats on WhatsApp on weekends because they are looking for something and they're asking me, "Hey David, what do you think if we do this?" Also, then this is a thing that you need to feel patient and you need to feel also open to challenges.
And okay, so again, another question, as we all know, to get into either one of these two tracks, cloud computing CC or SE, for example, there is a STEM requirement, right? So science, tech, engineering, and math. Maybe you can tell us about the criticality or why is this important. And unfortunately for people who have or don't have, right? Why it is important to have that kind of background? How does it help you on a day-to-day basis? Vis-a-vis other sort of backgrounds.
Yeah, I mean technical background because obviously we're talking about computers. Obviously, most of the work is solving problems and solving problems using a scripting language. In our case, it's Python. But I would say that the main skill that someone should have, or when you approach any public cloud environment or public cloud team in any company, is like you need to have minimum coding skills. Okay. Because it's what it opens you the door to understand the rest of the things. Because at the end, a public cloud environment, it's an API. Okay. Then what you do here is like you need to learn how to call the API, how to collect the answers, how to operate it, how to, and at the end it's like people think that public cloud is more about infrastructure, but it's not. It's about coding. It's about talking with an API. Then it's not like when you are doing classic operating systems where you have to log into a machine and you need to set up the network. And basically you are doing this to the console. Here is not. Here is a fully automated environment that you use a defined language. For example, in AWS situation is CloudFormation. Then you need to write all. I mean, there is no buttons, or there are, but the buttons are not a good thing to do. But there are no, proper UI to expand yourself properly on AWS, then I will say yes. I think the most critical skill will be able to script and understand how to work with an API.
Okay, and I just thought about this question, and that is, at the speed of technology and how fast it's moving, how fast it's increasing, right? If you like the David of 10 years ago had a certain set of skills, which is quite different from now. And then I'm just approaching it from, let's say, for example, the people in the audience who are applicants who have done computing or technical courses or degree program long time ago. And they want to get up to speed again to get, to make a good application or to make themselves a bit more current. What sort of advice would you give them in terms of, things that they should think about, things they should pursue, for example, to get them, up to speed, up to the current. Yeah, I
understand your question. I mean, maybe, yes, at the end, it's like if you, for example, like 4 years ago or something like that, you did a public AWS training. Obviously, 3 years ago, AWS was in a situation where it's not right now. I mean, we have more services, more functionalities, and so on. But I don't think so. This is the critical point, because at the end, it's like you will catch up. You will be able to read the documentation. You will be able to understand what you want to do. And I think, again, what is going to empower you, it's the ability to interact with the API through scripts, through automation, through all these kind of things. It means that, you need to understand, obviously, the philosophy of what is the public cloud or so. But I think is the big help here is the coding skills. Let's say that. Let's be clear.
Okay, got it. And I also wanted to find out, and as you're talking, I'm trying to look at some of the Q&A, but I think I'll ask that later. Let's talk about profiles, right? What are some of the attributes of some of the best performers in your team? I mean, I guess, if you can think of, not just the technical skills, but also some of the softer stuff, like, for example, if you know a guy who's hyper technical and he's really, really good in that space, but then he's lacking in certain other areas versus some guy who's very, stakeholder management, super good, technical, maybe okay, possible. What are some of the attributes of like what you consider to be a very good performer in your team?
Well, I think the biggest quality of the team that I'm leading right now is they are good. They are good working together. I mean, I think teamwork is critical here. You cannot try to work by yourself. For example, now in DBH, we have more than 200 applications in public cloud. You cannot try to manage this by yourself without having collaboration with your colleagues, okay? You can be a rock star on IT, but at the end, you by yourself, you can achieve a certain degree of success. But it's more about communication skills, being able to express your problems, being able to express the right question, and also understanding the answer from your folks and being able to, because at the end, this is a very big team. In public cloud, we are 67 people. All of them, they treat each other at the same level, means that you have a senior vice president talking with, we do the same thing. There is no, I mean, at least in my team, there is no categories that you showed, okay, my rank is SVP, I'm not going to talk to you, or no, that's not the point. The point is everyone is hands-on, everyone is respecting each other, and we try to, between all of us, bringing up our work. Then I will say social skills are very important. When you work in a team of so many people, most of them are very obsessed on their work. They like what they do. It means that as soon as they identify someone who is dragging or someone who is not motivated and so on, they immediately get nervous. It's like, hey, David, talk with this guy because this guy is not aligned. They have this. I mean, I don't need to do some kind of HR control, because between themselves, they measure. They say, okay, I mean, I want to do this, but this guy is dragging me. Can you talk with this guy because he has a problem? Then, I will say coordination, communication, and curiosity. I think curiosity is also the big adjective here. It's like you need to be curious, you need to accept challenges, and you need to understand that changes are for the good thing. I mean, changing things is not a bad thing. Usually people believe that they change something in their lives, that thing is going to move us away from the comfort zone. No, in this case, no. In this case, it's Fabrico is about changing technologies, moving forward, and so on.
Okay, and okay, so this one is a very, very pure kind of like a career type thing. Whatever you just said, David, I'm gonna ask you a question. Like if you were like in the position to look at resumes to hire, what would you need to see in, let's say, an application or a resume, for example, to make you, I want to call this guy, you can talk about anything like the structure of the resume, and keywords and stuff, but how would David kind of like assess or shortlist like a resume out of 1,000 resumes, for example, if you were like sitting and going through, what would be some of the things that you'd be looking for in applications?
I would say, first of all, I also look for consistency. I read the CVs from the bottom to the top.
Okay.
I never read from the top to the bottom. Because if you read the CV, my theory, maybe I'm wrong, but if you read the CV from the bottom to the top, you will see his history.
Trajectory.
You will see exactly what are his areas that he wants to grow. Exactly. Then you will see the consistency if you look from the bottom to the top. No, and then this is the story, and then you will see the person focusing. I will say that if I see someone, basically he's working in, I don't know, big data. Okay, not related at all with public cloud, big data. But that person has a consistent career on big data, looking for training, looking for working, getting positions. This kind of CV is very interesting because you have someone in front of you that basically has an opinion about his career. He wants to do something. He is pushing himself to achieve these goals. Then you have a person that is an achiever. Then this is the thing that I look on when I have a CV in front of me.
Okay, and gonna push it a bit. Don't kill me. Okay, how about people who are inconsistent in terms of people who are looking to change careers? Like, for example, the TFIP program is all about re-engineering careers, right? So if you were to look at someone who came from a totally different background, okay, STEM for sure, but how would you then? How would your process be if it's any different? And in terms of looking at someone who's trying to make that change, how would that person inspire you or kind of like it kind of inspire you to say, take a chance on me because of certain things that you see on resume? What would those things have to look like?
No, I think it's the same. It shouldn't be the same. I mean, IT background, for example, one of the TFIPs that in the first one that joined my team, when I look at him, he studied chemistry and he worked in chemistry his whole life.
Oh, okay.
But he was consistently doing things about chemistry. And in fact, he's had
I see what you mean. Okay.
a PhD. He had a PhD. In fact, I was so afraid because I don't have a PhD. Then giving an opportunity to someone who has achieved the PhD degree is like, oh my God, man, that guy is very good on this.
Serious, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Then, but at the end, he showed the same thing. He showed that he wanted to he was an achiever. He wanted to do something. He defined his career, and at the end, he achieved it. And well, now he wants to change it. But I see that determination is still there. Then it's not about doing IT. It's about your personality.
Fantastic. I think that's a great answer. And basically what you're saying is that regardless of the career, it's the consistency of what you've done. Even if it's a different career, it's just the consistency and the dedication and determination of what you've done. Okay, cool. So for everyone else in the audience right now, you have 7 days to structure the correct resume. So
I cheat me.
Exactly. Okay. I'm looking at some of the questions. Some of them are actually quite good, David. So I'm just going to take we're going to mix and match some of my questions, some of their questions. So this one I'm looking at from anonymous attendee, and you can probably see it, but you have to scroll a bit. So this guy asks, or this lady asks, for those of us deciding between the two tracks, what's the real practical day-to-day difference between software engineering and cloud computing? Can you take that?
Honestly, I don't see the difference between software engineering and cloud computing. For me, it's the same thing. And in fact, all IT, I'm coming from, I'm having consideration that I come from the let's say, the traditional IT, the system administration, managing Tomcat servers, these kind of things. By the time I realized that IT is coding, I mean, independently if you are doing networking or you are doing security or you are doing cloud or you are doing pure software engineering, it's coding. Then, yeah, I don't have a specific answer. For me, it's both of them is the same thing. Honestly.
Okay. Attendee, I hope that sort of helps you a little bit. I also saw this one question. Fauzan Hamdi, Fauzan, I'm gonna try to take your question as well. So, speaking from your experience, David, what was the biggest cloud computing problem you've encountered so far, and how did you deal with it? Like weird hours to attend a problem, how big and complex the problem was, etc., etc. Don't know whether or not I don't know whether you can say that if it's public or it's quiet. I'm not sure, or you cannot supposed to say.
I can anonymize things.
Okay.
But yeah. I mean, frequently we have several issues. I mean, we need to have in consideration that the public cloud environment is not owned by the customer; it's owned by the provider. It means that in case of AWS, the public cloud environment is owned by AWS. In case of Google Cloud environment is owned by Google. Means that they define or they design an environment and you use it. Then the big problem that you can have is like you expect that environment reacting in one way and you have a totally opposite reaction. No? In our case, for example, working in a bank, one of the most critical things that we are obsessed with is security. Then in this case, we had a public cloud provider what we expected to have a degree of security, and basically it wasn't there. Then most of the time, what we do is like, first of all, we talk with the public cloud provider. In this case, we were able to contact the people in USA and explaining them what is not working on their side from our perspective. Then you need to understand properly what you want to do and also explain properly what you want to achieve. And it's about dialoguing, collaboration, and so on. And it's a very good opportunity for people who is in Singapore to contact engineers in other countries, because at the end, it's like you are sharing your experience, and people from USA, they are more than happy to know how you tackle a problem, how you are looking for to use this platform and so on. Then, yeah, basically, how we manage problems. I think it's going to be under a lot of analysis, a lot of testing, because at the end, you cannot go in front of someone and say, I think I have a problem. And basically, you don't have, maybe you are misinterpreting something. Then it's testing, analysis, and yeah, good communication with your peers on the other side.
Yeah, it's thank you so much for that. And also, this one I'm also looking at also ties into one of the questions I would have asked you anyway, from another anonymous attendee. Greetings to you, David. Well, this person would like to find out more about the cultural diversity in your current work environment. And then for me, I'd probably want to find out about what it is that you enjoy about the work that you do, or, you know, on a day-to-day basis. So can you help us with that question?
Well, that is it. Well, my team is the United Nations of DBS. DBS is a very local bank, and that's true. I mean, around 90 and something people, it's local Singaporean people, and 5 or 7% we are foreigners in DBS. No, then the reason why my team is so diverse is because this is not a technology that you can find easily in Singapore, not even in other countries. And at the end, we need to find people where they are. Meaning that we have people from Philippines, we have people from UK, people from Switzerland, people from me from Spain, people from France. Then at the end, it's like Singapore, we have many, it's true. But at the end, it's like, in our case, it's, we hire based on knowledge. Then, and the demand is so high that at the end, you need to, hire people from independently from what they are. No, hopefully I could find a whole team of developers here in Singapore, but the population is not big enough to satisfy the market demands. That is true also. I mean, I would say that we have a very good relation, all of us. I mean, we respect a lot of our traditions. Then I would not say that it's challenging for any of us to work together, honestly.
David, I think, since, I have you as a representative of DBS, I want to also ask you, I mean, because we all know that it's so hard to hire for, like what you do, for example, right? How do you sort of like, or what kind of environment or culture do you have specifically that stops people from moving to the next best offer? I mean, I know you can't stop people from leaving your team,
Yeah.
right? But what sort of environment does DBS or your team have to prevent or stem that from happening?
Yeah, slavery has been banned from Singapore years ago. Then we need to leave them. Yeah, no. The point here is like, first of all, as I said at the beginning, the people need to feel that it's their work. It's not DBS work. No, they need to feel that whatever they do is because they want to do it and because they want to give their personal touch. Means that it's like having a kid. No? And also, and this is a very good thing because at the end, it's like you feel very engaged and you need to create that engagement between the people and the work. No? Also, we'll say that the nature of the work is very challenging. Means that you are not, or the people is not getting bored easily because we are keep, adding more level of difficulties. No, then it's like not that example of pushing the button every 5 seconds every time. Also, then you don't fall into the a boring situation where again, okay, that thing, okay, I will do exactly the same thing, exactly. Then having a challenging environment, and basically they challenge each other too. Then they share a lot of ideas between them also. It's quite interesting because they learn between them, they create new things. We have created things that, for example, other governments are very interested for. I mean, we have what we call chaos security, and this was a big achievement from the team. Then we have created something that nobody has done before. Then these kind of activities, I think, is what makes the people wanted to stay. Until now, in 40 years, only 2 people resigned. One of them because he moved back to Netherlands, and the second person, he only stayed with us 4 months, and he said, "Okay, I'm not up to this level of." Was a person who was, age, he was 50 above, and he was not comfortable with this dynamic of changing things, moving things, pushing things. He thought that when he was joining DBS, he was joining a traditional dinosaur where basically you are pushing the button every 5 seconds or so. Then these are the 2 cases that people who resign.
Interesting that you should mention, because I saw someone ask a question. I can't find it now, but 50-year-old being hired. So I'm not focusing on the fact that this guy lasted for 4 months, but I'm focusing on the fact that you actually did hire someone in their 50s, which is a wonderful thing. So hopefully, the next time if it happens, right, you find someone who's kind of agile and you can adapt to it. And I think that's the end of the day. That is really the key, right? I mean, regardless of the age and experience, it's about how agile you are and how adaptable you are, right?
Exactly.
Fantastic.
Exactly.
Okay, so another question, which is I also had this question, but another anonymous attendee asked is given that DBS is a bank, how much finance knowledge do you need to have to work in cloud computing, if any?
Nothing.
Simple answer, nothing.
Simple answer. No, we give service to the application teams to provide service to the business. We are not facing the business at all. Means that my team needs to be able to communicate properly with what we call the LOBTs, the technical branches of the business. Then and this is the collaboration we have. I mean, I don't need to understand how a loan is calculated because we don't build this. I don't need to understand how interests are calculated because we don't do this. We do pure IT applied to IT.
Fantastic. Okay, Ken, hope that answers your question. Definitely answers mine. Another one would be, I can't pronounce this name, P. Lee. Wu. Greetings, David. Can you elaborate a bit more on how the responsibilities of your operations or your team are divided? How do you are there sub teams?
You want to know basically the org chart? Well, I will not say the org chart, but basically we have it's a very horizontal team. Say that there is not too many levels. Okay, and I am in the top because my boss wants someone in the top. Okay, and at any way he is a, he looks, or I understand that from the senior management they want to have us only one single person to talk with, but the team is quite horizontal. What we have divided is in different areas of functionalities. Let's say we have people who are looking for compliance, we have people who are looking for AWS business as usual, we have people that they are looking for operations, but it doesn't mean that they are not talking between them. I mean that these guys are more specialized in these areas. But in fact, what is happening, for example, if one of the guys is doing compliance and needs to understand something from, hey, what did your customer tell you about, he is talking with the operation guy, hey, what do you think we should do this? There is not an exclusivity dedication on each of the areas. Most of them, they mix between them, and it's there is a totally freedom to choose what they do. We work under agile methodologies, means there is a backlog, and you have the backlog. If you finish all your tasks, you can grab anyone that you like to from the backlog.
Great. And the next question is mine. I just wanted to find out in terms of mobility opportunities, because I think, folks like yourself and your team probably very valuable, but what sort of mobility opportunities might there be for people who wish to explore other career options, hopefully within the bank, but maybe even outside of bank, right? After spending some time with your team, what kind of opportunity?
You can. I mean, in DBS, we are quite open to internal mobility. It means that if someone is reaching me and asking me to, for example, move to the retail banking technical team, I'm more than okay. And in fact, and it's good for retail banking because basically they are getting someone who has a lot of knowledge on public cloud, and it will help them to develop their applications, with a proper point of view. So then in this case, the point is that we didn't have the opportunity, or nobody has asked me to transfer internally, honestly. They tend to stay. But if someone is asking me to move to retail banking or institutional banking or any other area, feel free. The point here is we encourage also this.
And also, so this one also just came to my mind. Apart from the chemistry guy that you mentioned, right? Are there any interesting TFIP sort of case studies, applicants that who joined you with some maybe minimum amount of technical competency, and what were the reasons and success factors that this person brought that you sort of won you over? We
have one guy also. We converted to perm. Mm-hmm. He's industrial engineer. Okay, then he struggled a little bit because his coding background was lower than we needed. Mean that he was let's say a little bit basics up a little bit. Then he had to catch up with with the level of quality that we were looking for. Then but he catch up at the end. After a year, he was able to understand and collaborate with any one of the team without any problem. He struggled a bit, that's true. But at the end, we are learning always. No, it's but if you see someone that is struggling, but he's trying, you will not say, okay, get out of here, man, because you're not working. It's you need to give the chance to progress at that person, unless you see that the projection of the progress could be 10 years to achieve something. But if you see someone, at least for me, if I see someone struggling on catching up with the rest of the team, but you see him asking questions, active, moving, trying to understand or so, reading things or so, you will say, okay, that guy is going to achieve it. Not now, maybe in a week or maybe in a month, but he's going to achieve it.
It's a very, very good. And I think that one tells me a lot about the the kind of the leeway you give someone, the help you give someone if that person helps himself or herself. So I think that's great. Anonymous attendee also, this one, I have no idea what he's saying, but you do. For cloud computing, is the primary focus on DevOps, meaning building and managing web apps, web applications, or setting up the infrastructure to run applications? Okay, so over to you.
Okay, what we are doing is we are creating a framework. Evolve is our framework that we have created. And what we do is we have created a framework where the application team can use to deploy things in public cloud.
Okay.
And for me, in my language, application teams means all the business technology team. Okay. Then basically, we don't build infrastructure because we give the opportunity to the application teams to build their own infrastructure under the framework that we have created. Means that we don't do directly like creating CID VPCs or deploying auto-scaling groups or so. No, we don't do that. The application team, they can do that by themselves through the environment that we create. It's nameable. I don't know if the question is properly answered.
Neither do I, but hopefully. Okay, sorry. Okay. So, for I sort of, my questions were very broad for sort of the general uninitiated public. So I'm just going to give a bit more time for the more technical ones. There's this question. There are two questions from Lee. Thank you, Lee. I don't know where you see this one, David. Okay, so again, same thing. Just going to recite the words. Don't know what it means, but maybe you can help out. So question one from Lee. David mentioned AWS. Is public cloud AWS only at DBS? No GCP or Azure? Question mark. And question two is, what does DBS use Python scripts for? Terraform? Question mark. Isn't that in HCL? I feel so sexy if it was me writing this question, but I have no idea what these things. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. First. Okay, in DPS we are pivoting towards multi-cloud. Okay, means that initially we started with AWS, and the reason of this is because we thought that AWS was the most mature public cloud provider and most established, most most people use public cloud. For us, it's going to be more chances to find someone experienced on AWS. But 2 years ago, we started to onboard Google Cloud Platform. Okay, and now in our portfolio we have Google Cloud, AWS, and yeah, we have plans to also onboard Azure. But the idea of the multi-cloud is because you can find different utilities in different public cloud providers. Using cloud providers, several of them, because you don't have any justification, it's a waste of time and money. You tend to look for a specific functionality, because if not, if you can deploy a virtual machine in AWS and a virtual machine in Azure and in Google Cloud, don't do that. Don't do it because you are looking for something that that provider has and not other have. First of all, and the second one, your question. I mean, you're asking about Python, HCL, Terraform, or so. Okay. We are using CloudFormation. I mean, we use the specific. Let's say, orchestrating language for every public cloud vendor. In this case, on AWS, we use CloudFormation, as I mentioned at the beginning. And for GCP, we are using Kubernetes Config Connector, who is the standard for GCP. Okay. Then Terraform is a multi-cloud orchestrator or configuration orchestrator. But the value of Terraform, when you are using multiple clouds, my personal opinion is like you don't have more than the public cloud vendor can offer you with Terraform. Then, no, we are not using Terraform right now. I don't see the motivation to use Terraform, having in consideration how we use both clouds. And because we are using everything through what I say, the Evolve framework. Means that, yeah, Python, and a lot of Python, I would say.
Okay, great. So I think I sort of also picked up these technical questions because I was anticipating that kind of technical answers. And for the people in the audience who are listening, and when David is answering, and if the language is scaring you, so I guess there are two types of people, right? The ones that are scared, oh my God, with what you're saying, and the people who are inspired by what you're saying, right? So just want to give you sort of like your own kind of internal compass in terms of whether or not these tracks are for you. Hopefully they will be, but those are the kind of the things that you probably will be talking about and discussing on a day-to-day. Okay, maybe one more sort of question on slightly technical. Can you share more about the use of Python for coding, like the most recent example? Was it to use Python to code a process or automation, or was it to perform some DSS through machine learning?
We use Python for everything. I mean, for us, Python, it's the core language to build the automation, to build the compliance, to build the security. And good thing for Python is it has so many different kind of libraries. We can use Python for artificial intelligence. My master degree, it's in data analytics. I used Python when I did the master degree. Then, yeah, I mean, for us, Python is it's critical in our roadmap.
Okay, got it. Okay, I mean, going through a lot of, I don't think we can go through all the questions, and I'm cognizant of the, the second segment that's coming up. David, I guess before I let you go, I wanted to, I always ask this question, and I want you to, maybe perhaps give some words of encouragement for the people who are here thinking about it. You've got 7 days to apply, and so on and so forth. But any things or any final words that you want to say to these folks who are considering applying? Yeah, I mean, anything at all, anything that comes to the top of your mind. Yeah.
Is that my elevator pitch, no?
Yeah, for them. Yeah.
Okay. I know that one of the things that everyone is asking me is about, hey, do you know something about artificial intelligence, about this top, very juicy things that the people now hear around on the street? Well, no, we don't. I mean, we don't do this. Not at the level that the people think, but mainly we don't do this because at the end there is someone who needs to build the foundations of the building. When you hear about big data, when you hear about artificial intelligence, you hear about any kind of technology, this is the top of the building. Okay, these are the windows, these are the furnitures, but someone needs to build the foundation of the building. Someone needs to build the walls, someone needs to build the pillars, and this is the public cloud engineering thing. Okay, then I saw so many people rejecting offers because they wanted to be working in things that are juicy, like for example, artificial intelligence, and forgetting that at the end, they're going to deal with what we are doing right now here in the public cloud team, is the creating an understandable framework, creating an understandable piece for the application teams to work with. It means that I would say that not everything is about artificial intelligence, machine learning, and so on. There are more things. And I think it's very challenging because the area that we are working on is a little bit quite niche, I would say. I know that there are people that are interested on people from my team. And also I receive offers from other countries to basically bring experience in other countries. It means that there is a lot of projection on public cloud, and specifically if you have banking or FSI experience, then it's going to be, add-on on your career. But yeah, I would say that don't get obsessed with big words, buzzwords of, try to understand what you feel, what you want to do, and go for it. I mean, don't try to follow someone say, hey, I'm doing Panda functions or so. I mean, okay, Panda functions are funny, but at the end, it's like if you are more curious about other things, just follow.
David, yeah, and sorry to be a party pooper. Just when you thought I was going to let you go, I just want to ask one question from one of the audience. Again, if you can answer, that'd be great. Oh, before that, can I just ask my colleague Serene to just launch that survey for us? Just FYI, for those people who are uninitiated, we always launch these surveys. It will take you 15 to 20 seconds maximum. Tell us how we're doing, whether you enjoy the session, whether it answers your question, whether it's useful. That would really, really help us. It only takes 15 seconds of your time. There's one more thing I kind of forgot as well. If one of my colleagues online can also just maybe put in the IBF Careers Connect email address somewhere. So if any one of you who are just, thinking about applying for TFIP, but more broadly, if you're thinking about your career in general and you need some help from a career advisor like myself, we're standing by to meet with you. So just write to that email address that you'll see in the chat screen, we will see you one-to-one. Okay. So in the meantime, please help us with the poll. Be very appreciated. Okay. So David, promise, last one. So Linya has asked this question, whether or not you can help. You understand from David you're from the cloud computing team, but is it possible for you to share anything that you know about the data analytics team at DBS, and in terms of criteria, culture, tasks, interface with your team, and so on and so forth?
Yeah. I mean, at the end is what I was saying before. I mean, we have a very direct interaction with people who use, I would say, hardcore technology, no? And one of the biggest customers that we have is the data analytics team. They come with demands that some of them are very difficult to fulfill, but it's why I say these are the challenges that we are facing. We want to do data analytics using customer data, but saving the customer data to be stolen and so, because the most critical for DBS is the security. Then these are the challenges that I was mentioning. But yeah, I mean, the team, the data analytic team is a very, I mean, the manager of the data analytic team is a very good friend of mine. Yeah, they are doing a very amazing job on creating the next version of, we think that the bank should be doing things like, for example, basically predicting when you are going to call and what you want to ask when you call, and in which language are you going to use or so, in order to have the right person, the right agent at the right time, in order to provide a better service for the customers. Then this kind of thing that is like a crazy, I'm going to predict who's going to call me. Then these kind of things are some of the projects that we are running right now in DBS.
Okay, that's great. Linya, I hope that sort of answers your question. Okay, I took a bit of U-turn, go back to a question again. So I just want to have the natural conclusion. David, final words again. Anything else that you want to say before I let you go? Rest of your day. Any like words of good luck kind of thing?
Yeah. I mean, at the end, it's like, don't be shy, try. I mean, you already, I mean, in Spain, what we say is like, you already have the no, then go for the yes. Then don't be shy, try, and challenge yourself. And the point here is like, if you have an objective, you want to be part of in the case of the DBS, just try and try to feel it from the heart, because it's when the things works. I mean, when you want to do something because you feel you want to do this, is when you are going to achieve the things. And yeah, don't be shy on asking questions or on trying things. Again, in Spain, we say this, the no, you already have it. Now go for the yes.
Yep, I think that's good. I'm going to use that. And so with that, everyone is online right now. Hopefully, if you're thinking of applying to one of these two tracks, you know what to do in terms of putting in the application. You heard what David said about consistency in your career, your previous career. Doesn't matter what career you had, as long as you meet the minimum requirements and show that you have consistency throughout your whichever career you used to have. I think that will help you. And I want to wish everybody, good luck with applications. Now, David, thank you so much. I'm going to let you go. But for everyone else, if you want to ask some specific program questions, please stay put. And some of my colleagues will be standing by to answer these questions live.
My name is Vincent, and I'm from the Employability Skills Development team. We are the team that administers the TFIP program. So I do have a number of questions, and I think they are still coming in. Please feel free to raise your questions there, and I'll answer them as best as I can. So to answer the first question, I have a question from an anonymous attendee who is asking, I'm seeking the brutal truth, and if an individual above 50 years old will be considered less desirable and last considered to enter with very low chances to get into TFIP. Please let me clarify on that. TFIP itself does not have an age limit in terms of how old an individual can be to apply. You will be considered equally as compared to other applicants as part of the program. We have also seen a number of candidates who are above 50 years old who had actually gotten into TFIP in the past years, and this is repeated for all 3 runs that we have actually conducted before. So please do send in your application. We will assess you based on the prerequisites and eligibility, and as well as taking into account your job experiences and activities that you have done before. I have a few questions from a few individuals who actually attended this session, asking if there is a requirement for JavaScript, for coding, technical skill sets that you possibly have prior to entry into the program or applying for the program. These skill sets I would assume are skill sets that you might have taken in as part of your own interests, programs that you have actually you're actually keen on, and courses that you have actually submitted and gone for as part of your own interests. All these will be taken into account as part of the assessments. And when the financial institutions interview you, similarly, they will take into account these skill sets that you have actually acquired as part of the application as well. I have a few questions also on whether or not this arrangement is a work from home or work from office arrangement. So as for any employment out there, if you have been in employment or if you have been keeping up the news, the employment arrangements and the requirements of the job might require you to go back to office. There might be hybrid arrangements actually arranged for you as well. All this will be dependent on the financial institutions that you join eventually. Before I go on to more questions, also let me clarify. Within the video, it was mentioned that the application closes on 18th June. That was the original closing date. We have since extended that to 30th June 2022. So please do send in your applications prior to 30th June 2022. So I do also have another question that says that for the courses, is there a charge for it to be paid by the applicant? So as mentioned in the video earlier, the cost of the structured training is actually borne by the government as well as your hosting companies. So to the applicants, to the individuals who are going through the program, there will be no cost incurred by you in terms of the attendance of the structured training. However, you will be required to be successful in the structured training. And in the event that you're not successful, there are options where you can explore reassessments or recourse. But for those, the cost might be charged to you instead. So I think there are also questions on what is the work-life balance like, what are the expected working hours, as well as are you to expect long working hours on a regular basis? Dependent on the job requirements and the job nature of the respective training areas, you might be required to work beyond office hours. However, this will be compensated to you in terms of in the form of off hours as well as off days instead of monetary compensation. For the program, so I have a question from Nicholas as well. If there is a structured program blueprint for the trainee. So as part of the program has a predetermined timeline as well as a structure that was actually designed for each of the training area. The design of the program is done in collaboration with the training providers who are appointed for the program, as well as the financial institutions that are participating in this program as well. IPF, assuming that you are selected for the program, will conduct half-yearly checks to ensure that the program designed for you is on track and ensures that the training that is administered by the financial institutions are also aligned to the training area that you have actually applied for. I also do have another question asking if it is possible for early conversions into the program. So for the program itself, during the duration of the program, you will not be employees of the organization. You are trainees with the financial institution. What happens then, your satisfactory performance, availability of headcounts, when taken into consideration, can result in the financial institutions looking to convert you earlier prior to the end of the program. So you can be converted earlier into a permanent employee as long as the conditions are right. I have a few questions asking when can we expect a response once we apply for TFIP. So the detailed timeline is within our website. So please do visit our website to see the key milestones. Essentially, once the application closes, you will be called up for technical assessments if you are shortlisted, followed by interviews and selection by the financial institutions. For any personal questions on your own circumstances, I will have to trouble you to put in an application. From there, we will then do an assessment of your eligibility. And if you are shortlisted, like I mentioned earlier, you will be invited for a technical assessment. For the SGUS FinTech program, I have a question from an attendee saying if they have previously participated in SGUS FinTech program, if they have previously participated in any of the SG United programs, would you be eligible? So the prerequisite states that any outstanding obligations to any of such sponsorship will not be considered. So if you had completed the program, if you had completed the government programs, please feel free to submit an application. However, if you still have an outstanding obligation, we will have to assess on a case-by-case basis. Again, I have some questions on some basic coding skills, whether these are required for the program itself. So coding skills are not required. In fact, the prerequisites are listed within the website itself. For software engineering, for cloud computing, there is no requirement for you to acquire the coding skills. The design of the structured training that we have actually put in for this program is designed in such a way that we actually help an individual without prior experience be trained from zero. However, the learning curve will be challenging. So I do have another question if the course is a fast-paced crash course mode. The structured training is intended to give you the foundational training. From there, the foundational training will actually help you to be able to speak the same language, to have certain prior knowledge that will allow the financial institutions to quickly adapt you into the daily job activities that you will be required to undertake. So if you have no prior experience, no coding knowledge, please feel free to try, submit an application. And from there, you might be able to pick up in terms of your success rates, you might be able to become and be converted successfully as well. In terms of the cost of reassessments, I have a question asking if what is the cost of reassessments? Are the assessments individual or group work? The assessments are actually administered by the respective training provider in different form. They can be the form of a practicum, they can be a form of multiple choice questions. So it can be all different shapes and sizes. However, in the event that any of the assessments are not successful, you might have to go through a reassessment to ensure that you pass the courses. Reassessment fees, however, will be shared with you only upon non-completion or non-successful completion of the assessments. Yep. I have a question as well. If there is a possibility of getting interviews with multiple financial institutions, yes, there is a possibility. So within the applications, you will notice that you are being asked to indicate your interest in the respective financial institutions that have offered a training place under the software engineering track, the cloud computing track, etc. So that preference will allow financial institutions to very quickly look into whom have actually chosen them. Additionally, as part of the application, we also will share your profiles with financial institutions that you have not chosen. The financial institutions, after doing the shortlisting and selection, might approach you for an interview. So please don't be surprised when you are approached by a financial institution that you have not chosen. These financial institutions might potentially also offer a position for which you can then choose to accept or reject. So I have a question again on would the aptitude test be very technical? No. The test is not meant to be a technical, a test of your technical skills that you possess. It tests on the potential of the applicants in being able to be successful in the training area that you have actually applied for. So this is to ensure that we maximize the chances of you being successful. As I mentioned, as I think within the video, it was mentioned that this is a full-time program. Number of you will actually be individuals who leave your current employments to join the program to pursue a successful conversion change. So this technical aptitude test will test your potential in being able to do so. I have a question asking if you are pursuing a part-time master degree, do you need to quit the master program in order to participate in TFIP? The priority, once you are actually successfully admitted into the program, is that you will need to commit to all the training that is administered under TFIP. Notwithstanding this, if your part-time master degree will not impede your ability to do so, you will then be able to proceed. However, we advise you to declare this fully to the financial institutions if you are selected, so that they may assess for you if you can continue the program. I have a question that the structured training is 1 to 6 months. Is that included in the 18 months duration? Yes, this is included in the 18 months duration. I have another question that if you have a notice period of 3 months, so unfortunately, our offers will only be finalized likely in end of September. You will have to work out an arrangement with your current employer if you wish to join the program, and to be able to cut short your notice period so as to be able to meet the commencement timeline. Else, we will not be able to accept you into the program. Okay, I think that covers majority of the questions that I am able to answer in generic that might apply to all the attendees here. If you have a question on your personal circumstances, if you wish to know if your application can be considered for the program, please feel free to submit your application. We will make an assessment from there. A successful indication of your eligibility for the program will be when you receive a technical assessment from us. If not, I think thank you everyone for being very active in participating in this Q&A. And for any other questions that I might not have covered, and if you need to check in with us, please feel free to contact us as required. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. With that, we have now come to the end of this afternoon's session. Thank you for joining us, and do put in your application for this exciting program before the application close on the 30th of June 2022. Thank you all, and wishing you a great evening ahead.